Welcome, welcome. Our next speaker, Kemir, is the CEO and founder of Intelligence Network, JINTEL. Driven by her journey of overcoming trauma, she is dedicated to empowering women in their emotional well-being and spiritual growth. Through JINTEL, she provides a supportive environment for women to deepen their faith while acquiring practical tools for emotional health. Our shared belief in God's unique purpose for every woman fuels our mission to help them embrace their destinies and life abundantly. Kemir, welcome to the BRI Talk stage. Welcome, welcome.
I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. As already told, my name is Kemir Baker, and I am the founder of a nonprofit organization called Intelligence Networks. And what we do, we provide faith-based educational programs for emotional health and healing. And before I jump into the details of what I do, I kind of want to have this opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit better. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and feel free to raise your hand if it resonates with you. So whoever has been in a relationship where you ended up getting hurt by the individual? Yeah. Have you ever experienced a relationship where you questioned who you were as a person, that in that relationship, they started to kind of change you a little bit? Yeah. And what happened as you went through life working through those relationship bumps? Some people, for some, they may take on again that new persona, or they may do something that I did, which was I stuffed those experiences. I didn't have the tools and the understanding of how to navigate through those hurts and pains. And so what I did was I said, well, I will deal with it later. And the way that it manifests in my life is I grew up in a traumatic childhood. I experienced abuse on all levels. And I didn't have the resources or the know-how to be able to speak up and say, hey, this is what's going on in my life. So what I did was I hid, and I said, okay, I'm not going to live like how I experienced life. I'm going to recreate my life. And so I went out and I began to pursue my career in IT. I was climbing that corporate ladder. I looked good. I made sure that my clothes were the best outfits. And when people saw me, they knew that I was the woman they needed to speak with. But what happened over time is that I began to live a double life. I would go home after doing all those agonizing and working that ladder and go home feeling unfulfilled. I would go home crying and depressed. I would cry in terms of how someone spoke to me that day. I didn't understand why someone's words would impact me so much. And I did that for years and years. And eventually my body gave out. And my body was like, you know what? You never dealt with your past. You're holding on to things that God doesn't want for you in your life right now. But you have no idea how to let it go. And the way that you're coping with those experiences is destroying you. And so my body said, I can't take it anymore. And once that happened, I was like, I don't want to be crazy. Why am I the one walking around crying all the time, having all these breakdowns? I want to be that happy-go-lucky, successful individual. And over time, it took me to have the courage to say, Kemir, you need help. And along that journey, God began to open up doors so that I can pursue that help. Because it was actually kind of countercultural for me. I grew up in the environment with the saying, what goes on in home stays in home. No one outside of this place should know about your experiences. And so it took me quite some time to get to the place to have the courage and strength to say, I'm going to let someone else know about these experiences who are not in my home. And so as I started this journey, that was one of the first things that I had to learn was how to get help. And not only how to get help, but how to be real with my experiences, how to not stuff those experiences. And being a woman of faith, it was very challenging to connect that God wanted to hear my problems. It was very challenging to connect that God wanted to heal me. And it was quite interesting because as I began to read the Bible more and more, I began to see all these scriptures about healing. And I was like, oh, I kind of missed that this whole time. And then I saw this one particular passage about Jesus. And we all know he went to the cross, he died for our sins. We've heard that story, and we're quite familiar from a faith-based background. But one of the things that really hit me the most was seeing Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And in that place, that's where he was the most vulnerable with God. And that was the place where he shared his experiences, his emotions, his feeling of abandonment, his feeling of depression. And I was like, oh my gosh, you felt depressed? I had no idea that you can feel depressed. The person who all they had to do was touch themselves and they would be healed. How are you feeling depressed? And I felt as though that passage was there to guide me, to help me to get to a place of security, of walking with God through my healing journey. And as I stated before, going through that process of getting help. And one of the things that I needed was how to find safe relationships. What is boundaries? I had a very distorted perspective that my relationships meant that I had to give everything of myself. And so I would walk around pouring out, and not be given to. And so I had to learn how to have relationships where people pour back into me. And I also had to learn that not everyone needs to hear my business. Even though today you get to hear my business, but not everyone is equipped to meet my needs. And so I learned that the hard way. I was like, oh, it's fine time. I'm ready to share. And I'll tell people and they'll be quiet. And then I'll get so hurt. And I was like, I will never do that again. And so during that journey, again, learning those safe relationships. The other thing that I had to learn was I had knee-jerk reactions. I had those emotions that were embedded in my brain. And there's a word that we use, and it's called trigger. It's like, oh, we can get triggered so easily. And that was one of the things I was like, why is my first reaction is to yell at someone? Why is my first reaction to go home and cry? Why is my first reaction to want to slap someone? That whole road rage took a whole new level for me. And I had to retrain my brain. I had to learn new habits, new healthy habits to get me to a place where not only am I functioning, but I'm thriving. And so these elements on my healing journey became the pillar of our nonprofit, JINTEL. And if you see it says JINTEL, we get to just, it's okay, it's all good. There's no hyphen. But regardless, JINTEL, we're here because I wanted support on this journey. And I needed to learn these valuable truths in a method where I was not hurting myself or hurting others around me. And so with our organization, we dig deeper into how do I have an ability to share my experiences in a safe environment and get the support and help that I need. And there are two incredible programs that we have with our organization. It is called Living Free to Be Me. And the other one is called Stronger You, and that's for seniors. But our Living Free to Be Me program, we walk through that journey with you to be able to safely begin to expose those wounds, to be able to say, hey, I'm no longer willing to stuff these items. And we just finished our spring session, and one of the ladies said, man, I pent up 18 to 20 years of emotion. And I finally had the opportunity to come and not only learn about my experiences, but to begin to be my authentic self. And as we do this work and unravel those experiences, as I asked the question before, who's changed a little bit because of those relationships? Well, the work that we do, we bring you back to how did God design you to be? what is my fervor, my thrive, my strength? What are those things that God intended for me only, and to be able to embrace those items? And so in that program, we get back to that place of purity, innocence. We get back to that place of, I'm no longer carrying these items and bringing it into other relationships, other experiences, but I'm able to think and be who I was chosen to be. And as I shared in part of my journey, some of the mistakes that I made in terms of learning how to have safe relationships, well, that's what we do within our program. We help you to be a part of a group where everyone is working together on their growth. And so as you're maturing and growing, you're with people who are having the same mindset and willing to grow with you. And the other item of, okay, how do I deal with these triggers? How do I work through my brain hijacking me when I really want to have a different response? And within our program, we address that as well. We put in those positive attributes so that you can walk around in your authentic self. And so just because I want to make sure that you're still with me and you're still awake, I would like us to do an activity. For a moment, I want you to think of a positive experience that you've had, where you felt empowered, where you felt love maybe, where you probably got your best day. One of those days for me was when I was 7. I had the best birthday. That 7th birthday, I had all the things that I wanted. I got clothes, I got the Atari, so I'm dating myself. And it was such a phenomenal time for me. Like, I was able to eat whatever I wanted that day. So I want you to take a moment and find that special day for you, that special experience. Think about it, think about it. I know, dig through it. Somewhere it's there, somewhere it's there. But as you're thinking about that experience, one of the other things I would like you to do is to think about every aspect of connect every aspect of your senses to that experience. What did it feel like? What were you wearing? What were the sounds around you? What was if you could put an image to the feeling that you had, what image shows up for you? And as you think about that imagery, as you think about those sounds, just take a moment and just embrace it. Close your eyes and then breathe it in. Breathe all that goodness, all that love, all that encouragement, all that specialness, and let it resonate within your being. And do it again. Like, breathe it in, let it resonate with your being, allow your brain to have that experience. Keep connecting to it, keep breathing through it, keep inhaling it, enjoy it. And one of the things that you are doing when you're giving yourself the opportunity to hold on to that experience is that you're retraining your brain to think and be in that positive place. And so many times when life hijacks us, we need those moments where we can get recentered. And if you do that exercise, I'm confident that you'll get through whatever that hurdle is for you that day. And that technique with other techniques we use within our program for Living Free to Be Me. And so I did talk about, we have a second one, Stronger You. I love seniors. My mom is a senior and I love her to pieces. And one of the things that I've learned working with her and encouraging her spirit is that so many times seniors are overlooked. And what we do from a nonprofit organization, we go into their communities and we bring them emotional health tools. We hijack their Bible study, we incorporate God, and we allow them to see that God is a holistic God. He cares about the mind, body, spirit, and soul. And we're able to give that level of joy and encouragement to them. And so for today, you may feel like, hey, I'm not stuffing anything. I'm here because I'm ready to give to everyone. But I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure you have family and friends who probably need a little bit more support. And so send them to us. Back here is JINTEL. If you type in JINTEL.org on your browser, you get to learn more about our programs. And we are here to encourage, to strengthen, to build up, to say, you know what? I don't have to have my head low because I'm not being my authentic self. We've done the work, and we have had the opportunity to have programs where all you have to do is show up and participate with us. And so I would love to talk to you more about what we do, or as I stated before, go to our website. We have a great fall session coming up for our Living Free program. And again, it's a great opportunity to throw those things off and be able to say, you know what, I'm ready to be empowered and transformed. Thank you.